He was never really interested in acting. He loved the view of the ocean. He was an adrenaline junkie for whom cars became an important part of his life. Unfortunately, this passion led to his death. Paul Walker, the heartthrob and the possessor of one of the most charming smiles in Hollywood. What made him give up his childhood dream? Why was it hard for him to find a girlfriend? And how is he connected with the scandalous sex parties of a famous businessman? It's Biographer. Sit back and we're starting. Paul William Walker IV was born on September 12, 1973 in Glendale, Southern California. His father, Paul Walker III, worked in the construction sphere as a sewer contractor. In the past, he was professionally engaged in boxing and even became a two-time Golden Glove champion. The mother of the future actor, Cheryl Crabtree Walker, was a model in her youth, and after marriage and the birth of her children, she completely plunged into household chores. There were enough things to worry about. In addition to Paul, the family had 4 other children, 2 younger brothers, Caleb and Cody, and 2 sisters, Ashley and Amy. The whole family professed Mormonism. Dissatisfied with her career, Cheryl tried to realize her lost opportunities in her son. That's why he had been immersed in an advertising and modeling business since childhood. Cheryl constantly took her son to auditions, and her husband supported her. When the boy was a year and a half, Paul starred in an advertisement for Pampers diapers. So, the first works of the young Paul were the TV series The Young and the Restless, Highway to Heaven, and Who's the Boss? And his debut in the big cinema took place in 1986 in the comedy horror film Monster in the Closet. In 1988, Paul participated in the children's TV show I'm Telling. It should be noted that the young Paul was not enthusiastic about such a career choice made by his parents. He didn't see himself as a model, he wanted to be a future researcher. Impressed by Cousteau's TV shows, he was fond of the aquatic world and built aquariums. The boy loved to snorkel, took care of tropical fish.
I was involved with the Junior Ranger program, and they take us out and we look in the tide pools and that sort of thing. I loved it, starfish and sea anemones and sea urchins and, just all that stuff. I was fascinated with it.
In addition, in a family where men worked in traditional male professions like construction sphere, police, etc., the brothers treated Paul's interests with ridicule. This is what made the future actor not to abandon his unloved profession. Paul was sure that because of his non-masculinity, he would not be able to do something else. But there was another side of the family's occupations which greatly influenced the actor's future. I grew up hunting and fishing. I've always been into archery. I've always been into cars. In my family, that was just stuff we did. That's just the way it was. When I was in high school, we would go to the races every now and then. This is how Paul would later explain his passion for fast driving and cars. When Paul was about 7, he met Oakley Lehman. He will not only become his best friend, but will also work with the actor in several projects such as Joyride and The Fast and the Furious as his understudy. After graduating from high school in 1991, the young man studied marine biology at several colleges. He also constantly traveled and surfed. For several more years, he hoped to link his life with this sphere, and perhaps even become a second Cousteau. Paul began to make a name for himself thanks to small roles in popular TV series. He was especially productively involved in youth projects of the early 90s where he got episodic roles. In 1990, he appeared in the episode Dead Puck Society of the TV series Charles in Charge. He played the role of Russell Davis, the cutest guy in the class who is trying to use the main heroine to do his homework. The following year, the actor appeared in the TV series What a Dummy and Who's the Boss. Paul's type of appearance assumed the roles of a dream teenager, with curly blonde hair and a perfectly matched sweater. A little later, the actor was lucky to get a fairly major part of Brandon Collins in the TV series The Young and the Restless. He appeared on screen for 22 episodes from 1992 to 1993. The project was one of the longest running on American television and revealed the themes of confrontation between different social strata of the population. Eric Braeden, who played one of the main roles in the series, recalling their joint work, called him incompetent and an easygoing Southern California guy. I've worked with quite a few young people over the years, but I had a feeling that he would make it on the big screen. You find very few actors with his basic honesty or sincerity. This role attracted attention to Paul because of his appearance and acting abilities, and also earned him a nomination for the Youth and Film Awards in the category Best Leading Actor in a TV Series. In 1994, he again had a cameo role in the pilot episode of the TV series The Boys Are Back. The first film of his youth was the comedy Tammy and the T-Rex by Stuart Raphael, where the actor had one of the main roles. He was a high school student named Michael, who by chance became a dinosaur robot. His partner on the set was Denise Richards. Nobody expected anything good from this movie initially. On Rotten Tomatoes, it got 4 out of 10 points. Paul returned to the screens 2 years later in the drama series Touched by an Angel by John Macias. We can talk about a stable career rise in the life of a young actor from 1998. He starred in 2 movies, the Steve Boyum comedy Meet the Deedles and the Gary Ross dramatic comedy Pleasantville. In the first movie, the actor played the main role of Phil Deedle, one of the Bum twins who, after going through trials and adventures in the story, realizes the wisdom of life. Boyum's directorial debut received mostly negative reviews from film critics. He also failed in the box office, grossing only $4 million with a $24 million budget spent on it. Raphael Modemeyer, a critic, describes Paul's acting like this. He's charming one, as he spends most of the film tied in a romantic subplot with a female ranger he declares his love for after 20 seconds of knowing her. Walker manages to balance his surfer dude persona with the kind of endearment that would allow the Fast and Furious franchise to become what it is. Despite this, the main role in the film and his face placed on the poster was undoubtedly a breakthrough for the young actor. In Pleasantville, Paul was lucky to get into a good cast: Tobey Maguire, Reese Witherspoon, William Macy, Jeff Daniels, and others. If you think that the actor got a new, interesting image in this movie, then we should disappoint you. Skip Martin is a classic school handsome young man who has an affair with the main heroine.
Huh? Oh, right. So I know I haven't been steady with anybody or anything, but I just don't want to rush it. I mean, there's kids that are even holding hands already, but I figure there's plenty of time for that kind of thing later on, don't you?
It leads to irreversible consequences according to the idea of the plot. Neither the black and white color gamma nor the short haircut could spoil the charm of Paul. In an interview, the actor admitted that participating in the film was just a way to earn money in order to be able to do what he loved.
It wasn't a conscious decision. The decision was more or less made for me. I was at a situation where I'd run out of funding basically for school.
Pleasantville became the actor's first successful film. It was because of this movie that the young man was noticed by both critics and viewers. Unfortunately, despite the excellent reviews, Pleasantville was not successful at the box office, grossing less than the spent budget. However, this did not prevent him from receiving 3 Oscar nominations. In 1999, Walker appeared in 3 films. The first one was the youth melodrama Varsity Blues, shot by Brian Robbins. Later, it will become a cult among American youth. The film touches on issues of problems and difficulties faced by high school students, troubles of self-realization through the story of a particular football team. The actor became Lance Harbor, a handsome football player, captain and defender of the team, as well as the best friend of the main character.
I woke up kind of sad. But then I cheered up when I realized it was only a dream, because I know we'll be Bangville by way more than that.
Under the influence of other people's interests and greed, Paul's character faces a difficult moral and ethical choice which affects his career. In an interview with the Daily Cougar, the student newspaper of the University of Houston, Walker fondly recalled the filming of Varsity Blues. It was like going back to high school, 40 football players, a gang load of cheerleaders, all for 3 months while we're hanging out and having a good time. Bustle.com noted that Walker's appearance in Varsity Blues became his breakthrough role in Hollywood, praising his approach to the part. Walker impressed both fans and critics, the website summed up. EntertainmentWise.com wrote that it was Varsity Blues that made Walker one of the new golden boys of teen movies. Colleagues on the set spoke very warmly about working with Paul. From the first day, he became a real friend, Ron Lester said. Elil Swinton recalled, 5 young guys in a van early in their careers, acting like college buddies. A lot of people know Paul loved cars, but I'll cherish the fact that we both lived the game of football on and off the set. We were ballers. In the youth drama She's All That, for the first time, Paul got a role of quite a negative character. It was a bad boy high school student named Dean Sampson, a friend of the main character, inciting him to various obscenities. In an interview, Paul confessed why he chose such a hero. "I just wanted to play the villain. That was the main thing. If they had asked me to do the main character, I wouldn't have wanted the role. I got the opportunity to play the bad guy for a change." Already at that time, the actor's fatigue from the created image was felt. In an interview, he admitted that he would like to change the direction of the chosen roles. "Actually, there's quite a concern that I might get stuck in this sort of thing." The picture received mixed reviews, but completely paid off, grossing $100 million. It was accused of numerous cliches and miscalculations in the script, and Godfrey Cheshire from Variety called the picture an absolute mediocrity, in which the creators did not try to go beyond the conventions. At the same time, the film won several Youth Film Awards, 2 Teen Choice Awards, a Kids' Choice Award, and earned an MTV Movie Award nomination. In the thriller Brokedown Palace, Walker had a small role. It was so small that he wasn't even mentioned in the credits. By the way, Paul auditioned for the role of Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars franchise around the same period, but did not pass because of his age. He was too old. Later, the actor admitted that this was the only role he really dreamed of. The actor was quite active in his personal life. Even during the filming of Tammy and the T-Rex, Paul was credited with an affair with Denise Richards. But neither Paul nor Denise have ever confirmed or denied this fact. In 1998, in California, the actor met Rebecca McBrain, who was a school teacher in Hawaii. Soon, Rebecca gave birth to Walker's daughter, Meadow. However, the couple never got married. Paul considered himself too young for a wedding, and this became a stumbling block, as well as the fact that the actor did not pay enough attention to the girl, preferring to spend time with friends. After the breakup in 1999, Rebecca went to Hawaii and raised her daughter until the age of 13. After that, Meadow moved to live with her father, and the woman got an alcohol addiction. Only after the death of her ex-boyfriend, Richards returned to California, underwent rehabilitation, and fought for custody of her daughter with Paul's mother. After breaking up with Rebecca, Walker was soon seen at the premiere of the film True Values with a mysterious stranger. And in April of 1999, Walker met Bliss Alice on the set of the film Varsity Blues, where the girl participated in the extras. The couple had been dating for several years. The young actor's career continued to develop. His roles in the films She's All That and Varsity Blues made him famous, and he was able to easily move on to more mature roles. At the beginning of the new millennium, Rob Cohen's thriller The Skulls was released. Paul played a negative hero there. His character was a daddy's son who grew up in the atmosphere of luxury and permissiveness. A handsome man and a dream of women, spending his life in carelessness and endless celebration. Director Rob Cohen was pleased with the work with Walker. Working with Josh and Paul was thrilling. Paul was just coming up, but this is where my bond with Paul was formed, because I saw so much potential in him. And I put him toe-to-toe with an actor who is really seasoned, and he rose to the occasion, and I loved him. The guts he had to cave in, knowing in every scene he was going up against an actor who had been on camera 10 times more than he had. The teen thriller was received very coolly. Critics found the plot far-fetched and predictable, and the dialogues were considered funny. The acting was also criticized and called excessive. Despite this, the picture paid off and grossed $50 million. It was the acquaintance and collaboration with Rob and the Skulls that gave Paul the opportunity that would make him famous all over the world. Of course, we are talking about the cooperation with Rob Cohen in the next project. Rob Cohen was inspired to create the film after he read a series of articles in Vibe magazine in 1998 called Racer X about illegal street racing in New York. At first, the movie was planned to be called Redline, but in the end, they chose the title We Know because it was more in the spirit of street racing. Seeing potential in Paul, the director offered him the role of BrianO'Conner, an undercover cop who infiltrated Dominic Toretto's gang of street racers and investigated a multi-million-dollar truck theft. He was the first actor to sign up for the project. In an interview, he explained how starring in a completely different movie led to the mega blockbuster.
Neil Moritz approached me and he asked me what I'd like to do next, and I told him I always liked the idea of playing an undercover cop. And he knew that I liked cars. I got a phone call just a few months later
from Neil and Universal, and they said, hey, look, this is the idea. It's about modern-day drag racing. You play an undercover cop, and against the advisement of my representatives, I signed on without a script in good faith that it would come together well.
Vin Diesel, who played the second main role of Dominic Toretto, had to be persuaded to participate in the film, but in the end, it turned out to be a good duet. During the shooting, the actors became friends not only in the movie, but also in real life. They became so close that when Diesel had a daughter in 2008, he named her Pauline in honor of his friend. And when Walker died, Vin became the godfather of his daughter Meadow. Paul himself described their relationship this way: "Our chemistry is that we don't have any chemistry. We respect each other as human beings." The first part of the franchise was filmed in the state of California, USA, mainly on the streets of Los Angeles and in some locations in California. Almost all the crazy tricks Diesel and Walker did on their own.
How many stunts did you make yourself with the cars?
Not enough. There's never enough. But that's just the way it is.
Both actors went to a racing school in Las Vegas to prepare for the roles. They even trained to drive Formula One cars. Rob Cohen recalled, "We could see right away Paul was going to be an ace driver. It was clear he had a natural talent. He had no fear. You could see he was falling in love with the whole car business." During the filming, they used a large number of cars, 80 tuning cars, 78 of which were broken, both on-screen and off-screen. An experienced street racer was hired to consult the actors. He advised them to purchase a 1995 Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX, a 1994 Toyota Supra RZ, and a 1993 Mazda RX-7 for the main characters. Since everyone understood that the cars would crash, 5 pieces of each brand were bought. The studio spent $10,000 each. For his first serious role, Paul received his first huge fee, $1 million. The Fast and the Furious was originally supposed to be released worldwide in March of 2001, but was postponed until the summer. The film received mixed reviews. It was criticized for the script, but praised for the fighting scenes and performances of Walker and Diesel. To everyone's surprise, Universal's movie became a cultural phenomenon, eventually turning into a multi-billion-dollar franchise and one of the company's most profitable projects. It became an inspiration for a huge number of car fans, and it is still remaining today. BrianO'Conner's iconic car, the bright orange Toyota Supra, has become one of the iconic icons of the Japanese automotive community. After the success of The Fast and the Furious, Paul woke up as a celebrity. Success finally reconciled himself to acting, which had been bothering him for a long time. Now he was recognized on the streets.
You know, just the random people coming up, giving you the pat on the back, telling you how much they liked your movie. That's, I think, probably the coolest thing.
O'Conner became a target hit for Paul. During the chat to promote The Fast and the Furious, Walker described himself as crazy about cars, and in an interview called the shoot a dream job. His passion for cars and racing manifested itself in real life. Walker admitted that he liked to drive at a speed of almost 200 miles per hour and often received fines for violating traffic rules. "I love doing action. I'm still just a big kid. My favorite days are the days I get to show up, and when I'm making a movie like this, I want to run and jump and blast dudes around, hop over fences." That was the first week for me on this one. For the first week, I was the only returning actor that showed up every day. The Fast and the Furious grossed more than $207 million worldwide, despite the fact that only $38 million was spent on its production. Not surprisingly, the film had a sequel. In 2003, Too Fast, Too Furious was released. In 2009, Fast and Furious. In 2011, Fast 5. And in 2013, Fast and Furious 6. Vin Diesel did not want to star in the second part of the franchise. Some sources claimed that the actor was not satisfied with the $25 million fee. Others that he did not like the script of the second part. This gave Walker the opportunity to get more screen time and become the leader of the franchise. But Diesel's return to filming of the third part had a positive result for both actors. Since the fourth film, the franchise's business has gone into overdrive. In 2014, Paul received the MTV Movie Award for Best Screen Duo with Vin Diesel for the film Fast and Furious 6. However, after its release, Paul admitted that he was not sure if he wanted to continue participating in the franchise. This was partly due to the fact that the director of the project changed. Justin Lin was replaced by James Wong. In addition, he felt the fear of getting stuck in the image. I feel like I'm at a crossroads. Things start taking off for me when I was pretty young, and I'm still trying to make sense of the whole thing. Now, I'm at a place where the franchise wouldn't let me go, and it's fun to come back and just go around and play and have fun and drive cars. In the same 2001, when the famous The Fast and the Furious was released, the audience saw Paul in another film. That time, it was John Dahl's youth thriller, Joyride. Together with Walker, the main roles were played by Steve Zahn and Lily Sobieski. Paul and Steve performed the roles of two brothers who got into trouble and escaped from a psychopathic killer trying to bring the heroine of Sobieski home and, of course, survive. Lewis Thomas, Walker's hero, is a simple guy. He is straightforward, cute, and he's just a nice guy, and the actor managed to fit perfectly into this role. The audience received this movie well, both as a thriller with an admixture of horror and in general, despite the fact that it barely paid off. On the websites of film critics, it earned about 7 out of 10. The scenes are creepy, the acting is on top, and the direction is wonderful. Such comments can be found on the web. Roger Ebert praising the film, giving it 3.5 points. Joyride is a first-rate pure thriller, an exercise that depends on credible characters and the director's skill in putting the pieces together. In the same year, Walker was named one of the most beautiful people by People magazine. In 2003, Richard Donner's fantasy film Timeline was released, the script of which was written based on the novel of the same title by Michael Crichton. Paul got one of the main roles. He played Chris Johnston, the son of an archaeology professor. His father suddenly disappears during evacuations at the site of one of the battles of the 100 Years' War, and Chris and his team go in search of him. Walker's charisma didn't save him this time. The film received generally negative reviews and failed at the box office, grossing a little more than half of the money spent on production. In 2004, the audience saw Walker in the title role of the drama by Chaz Palminteri, Noelle. Mike Riley is a policeman and the jealous boyfriend of the main heroine, in whose dramatic life the actor was able to show the full depth of feelings and worries. The film got average ratings on film critics' websites, about 6 out of 10. Paul's next major role was the driving instructor in John Stockwell's adventure film Into the Blue. A young, honest guy named Jared gets into serious trouble, consisting of smugglers, treasurers, and the beautiful Jessica Alba. And this is all because of his youthful dream of becoming the discoverer of sunken ships and their secrets. According to rumors while working on the film, feelings and emotions overcame Alba and Walker. But how long this affair lasted is unknown. The shooting of the film was connected with a scandal linked with the parties of Peter Newgard, a Finnish-Canadian clothing magnate who invited the filming team to his villa in the Bahamas. During the press tour dedicated to the release of the film, Alba spoke extremely negatively about these parties. She called them disgusting because underage girls who stripped naked in a jacuzzi took part in them and had public sex. Paul Walker also spoke out about Newgard's revels, calling them strange, although he liked being a guest of Fashion Executive. Despite the fact that the trip was crazy, I spent a lot of time there. This place is like Disneyland, in a crazy way. At the same time, the actor admitted that he did not like social and nightlife. He believed that parties and clubs were not for him, and it was rather a waste of time. Cars were much better. The children's interest turned into a real passion. Paul became a skilled driver, took part in professional car races such as the Red Line Time Attack series. There, he performed for the AE Performance team in the M3 E92 car. The actor has 18 cars in his garage, the most favorite of which was a 1973 Porsche Carrera RS, which he had long dreamed of. In his spare time, Walker walked around the beach, surfed, and did jiu-jitsu. He carried the surfing board everywhere, practically without parting with it. The rest of the world disappears when I'm on a wave, the actor said. And of course, he traveled. Paul visited Greece, Spain, the Fiji Islands, India, Borneo, Brunei, Russia, and Costa Rica. This place he liked the most. But back to the movies. Into the Blue was another of Paul's failed works. The picture earned only $44 million without paying off the budget and received negative reviews from the audience. The consensus was, Even the endless shots of bronze beach babes and buff dudes can't keep this soggy scuba flicks plot from drowning. 2006 became more successful in the career of the young actor. 3 works with his participation were released. On February 24th, the premiere of Wayne Kramer's crime drama Running Scared, in which Paul was a small-time mobster named Joey Gazelle, took place. He is a very careless mafiosa, as a result of whose rash actions the story of the pursuit of a single revolver unfolds, which can bring trouble to the main character in the form of showdowns with the cops and the mafia. Walker was not immediately chosen for the role. Initially, it was offered to Thomas Jane, but he refused due to scheduling. It was a great opportunity for Paul to prove himself. Moreover, some reviewers considered this role to be a crossroads in the actor's career, where he refused a cute boy image jumping between romantic comedies and the franchise, and wasn't not afraid to plunge into the dark, dirty world of low-ranking criminal characters. Paul was not afraid of the explicit scenes in the film shot with Vera Farmiga. Nah, I just went for it. It looks like I was right in there, but I was just alongside of it. You know, it could have been uncomfortable, but it was the very first day, and Vera had dinner together in a group setting twice before. We knew it was required, so we went in and just made the best of it. And she's attractive, so it's not like I had a bad deal for me. I think for her, as a woman, I would think it would be much more difficult. Good looking as she is, she's surrounded by the entire crew and its males. The pressure wasn't really on me as it was on her. She's a really confident lady. The picture was received ambiguously. It was accused of excessive gloominess, lack of a well-thought-out plot and character development. Sam Wigley of Sight and Sound said that the vicious gangland depicted in the film resembles an iniquitous fairy tale realm, although it is dark and passes in a vertiginous blur of comic book hyper-reality. However, Running Scared has become a cult and quite popular among fans of the genre. Walker said that frustrated by the low box office, he returned home one day and found a message from Tarantino, who praised both the film itself and Walker's performance. This episode was undoubtedly an act of recognition of the actor's talent among the mastodons of the film industry. In February, the actor's second work was released. It was Frank Marshall's adventure film 8 Below. In this movie, Paul, in the image of an employee of the Antarctic station, Jerry Shepard, tries to save dogs fighting for their life while waiting for a rescue operation. The picture was based on real events of the 50s of the 20th century, in which in reality only 2 out of the 15 dogs survived, Husky Taro and Jiro. For the filming of the picture, 30 dogs were used, including actor dogs and understudies pulling sleds. Of course, there were some favorites.
I like Shorty a lot, the white one.
Why is that?
He was the coolest. He liked me the most.
He listened to you the most.
No, he just liked me the most. He just, for whatever reason, I was his favorite person on set. The other dogs, yeah, some they liked me, some more than others, but for whatever reason, he thought I was the coolest.
In real life, Paul also, as we know, loved animals. He was also very attached to his pets, the horse Cowboy and his dog named Labrador. 8 Below received good reviews and did well at the box office, grossing $120 million. Perhaps one of his most interesting roles was the role of Hank Hansen in the military drama Flags of Our Fathers by Clint Eastwood. The film tells about the battles for the island of Iwo Jima during World War II and the impact of events on the lives of 6 American infantrymen. The hero of Paul became one of those soldiers who planted the flag on top of the highest point of the island, Mount Suribachi, while becoming heroes and pawns in the political game of their superiors.
You know, I hear about how great he was. Everyone was pretty well broken down. We had all the historians you can imagine that were on this. I know favorite colors, I know his habits. I know anything and everything about him. But it's uncomfortable.
Despite the fact that the film failed at the box office, grossing $65 million out of $90 million spent, it was very well received by critics. The film entered the top 10 according to the National Council of Film Critics. Eastwood was also nominated for a Golden Globe for directing. The movie also received 2 Oscar nominations. Walker continues to star in action films, and then in 2007, The Death and Life of Bobby Z by John Herzfeld was released. Lawrence Fishburne and Olivia Wilde were also in Paul's company. This time, the actor not only played the main character, but also produced the film. However, it was not very successful. The action movie was low budget, the implementation was criticized. The hero of Paul was accused of banality. Reviews on the web read, A muscular, clumsy with a kind heart and a cool disposition. His character in general is a classic action hero, nothing new. The actors play without enthusiasm. I don't recognize Walker. The Death and Life of Bobby Z failed at the box office, grossing about $400,000. But the actor didn't lose his presence of mind and continued to work. He tried to choose pictures based on his own creative considerations without putting money as the main goal. Acting became an integral part of his life. I just like to work hard, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, I want to work hard. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. If I believe in what I'm doing, then I'm bringing the wood. That's it. When I start wondering, or when I start questioning, when I start doubting, that's not the environment I want to be in. Especially when you're surrounded by people who are committed to the cause. It's pretty bitchin'. No less controversial was the release of John Glenn's action-packed drama The Lazarus Project in 2008. The film was accused of a weak and too complicated plot, mediocrity, and sluggish acting. The Lazarus Project was the first project of the production company Be Good Productions, created by Paul Walker, Brandon Bertel, and Tim Whitcomb. A series of not very successful projects of Paul did not end there. 2 years later, another crime thriller with Walker in the title role was released. It was Takers by John Lusenhop. The actor played the leader of an experienced team of bank robbers. John Revay, who is opposed, of course, by an honest policeman represented by Matt Dillon. I play a good bad guy. It's fun. It's the same audience. It's a Fast and Furious audience. This is how the actor described his role. The reaction was as usual. Someone liked the action and dynamics of the film, the acting and the general presentation of the plot. Someone responded that the movie transitions into a contrived mess of overblown theatrics and predictable character twists. The actor did all the risky scenes on his own. In this chase scene, he is not replaced by a stand-in. The actor's work was not appreciated. The average rating of the film is 4.6 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes. In any case, the picture paid off its box office twice, and even received several nominations in the BET Awards and Black Reel Awards. However, they did not touch Walker. Despite his active work, the actor didn't forget about his old hobby. In 2009, he made a number of documentaries about sharks for the National Geographic Channel. To fulfill his dream, he spent 11 days in Mexico, where he shot 7 sharks under the supervision of the head of the expedition, Chris Fisher.
To me, I think it's more about the symbiotic relationships and more, I think, just the earth science as a whole. Botany has really kind of taken a hold of me lately, and even birding, which sounds funny because I always thought when I was younger that was for old men. But I really enjoy it.
After the earthquake in Haiti, Paul created a charity organization, Reach Out Worldwide, in which he himself took an active part. So in 2010, the actor went to Chile to bring water and medicines to the victims of the tsunami. Walker visited the cities of Male, Ioca, the villages of Curinipe and Paluju, where he vaccinated residents together with doctors. Paul Walker had a big heart. It is said that one day in a jewelry store, he noticed a young military veteran who was choosing a wedding ring together with his bride. Paul approached the manager and said, "Put this girl's ring on my account." I take care of a lot of people, you know? I like supporting people and helping out where I can, he admitted in an interview. In 2011, Paul tried to return to the path of the advertising industry and became the face of the new perfume, Davidoff Cool Water, for men of the perfume company Coty Prestige. After a fairly long interval, 2 new films were released in 2013, where fans were able to admire Paul. And his acting, of course. On February 7th, the release of the action film directed by Mukunda Michael DeWill, Vehicle 19, where the actor again had to play in tandem with the car, took place. The whole shooting took place in South Africa from a rather unusual angle. Almost all the time, the camera was installed either in the car interior or in such a way that there was a close-up of the interior. Despite the local beautiful views, handsome Paul, and several good storylines, the film failed at the box office and got a lot of negative reviews. The plot was accused of absurdity as well as the actions of the main character. And the unusual way of shooting played only in the negative. The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes reads, "It starts with an interesting premise, and Paul Walker is as handsomely brooding as ever, but Vehicle 19's incoherently shot action sequences make it a poor substitute for his work in the Fast and Furious movies." Another disappointing project was Wayne Kramer's detective comedy thriller Pawn Shop Chronicles. It was very unusual to see an actor in the role of a drug addict loser. The image contrasted very much with an attractive good guy, which was the standard one. But the implementation of the idea was a failure. The film received negative reviews from world film critics with an overall rating of 3 out of 10 on review sites. This was Walker's last work released during his lifetime, as he died 4 months after its release. By the way, the actor was also performing as a producer for both films. Camille Delamar's action movie based on Luc Besson's script became more successful among his not-so-successful works. The film was a remake of Pierre Morel's 2004 District 13. It is almost identical to the original, down to the names, storylines, and large-scale chase scenes. A dystopian action movie tells about a special criminal area bounded by a large wall. There, Walker is Damien Collier, a policeman who fights crime after the death of his father. Working undercover brings him together with a former criminal, and together they try to fight for the right cause. His hero hangs from the back of a speeding car, climbs onto the roof of a police van, gets behind the wheel of a Mustang, and in general, the actor shows all the knowledge and experience he received in The Fast and the Furious. And he does it with obvious ease and comfort. Critic Christy Lemire described Paul's role as a classic, and therefore a winning one in this film. Brick Mansions is a great example of what Walker did best all along. Once again, he serves as the strong, stoic center in a sea of larger-than-life villains and weirdos. A thankless job and one that's easy to underestimate. But clearly, he recognized that this was his strength, to use his California surfer good looks, quiet calm, and strong physicality to project the image of an appealing and reliable action hero. Brick Mansions, the most physically demanding movie of his career. Despite the fact that the remake turned out to be worse than the original, it paid off the budget, grossing $73 million, and even received a numerous fan base. Brick Mansions was dedicated to Paul's death and was released 5 months after the accident. The actor's personal life also did not work out. The appearance of women in Paul Walker's life began to flash like slides, replacing each other. From 2000 to 2005, Walker had several brief affairs with various women. In 2000, the actor was seen in the company of singer Christina Milian. In 2001, Paul allegedly had a relationship with actress Jamie King. In 2003, Genesis Rodriguez and model Amanda Page in 2004 were called Walker's Girls. Also, the actor was credited with an affair with Aubriana Atwell, which began in 2003 and lasted for several years. In 2004 through 2005, Walker dated Amanda Page. In 2006, the longest relationship of his life with a student, Jasmine Pilchard-Gosnell, began. The beautiful Jasmine Pilchard-Gosnell was born in 1990. The girl started dating Paul at the age of 16. The couple had been together for 5 years, and the actor said that Jasmine was the woman with whom he wanted to start a family. But in 2011, Paul and Jasmine broke up. Walker's last love was model Isabelle Gouillard. The film actor met her shortly before his death, in the summer of 2013 in Sao Paulo during Fashion Week summer. A year before Walker's death, his daughter Meadow, who had previously lived with her mother in Hawaii, moved in with him. That was the plan, he said in an interview, to work until the age of 40 and then reconsider my life and maybe do something else, not acting. I wanted to focus on my daughter and be with her all the time. But Meadow wants me to stay in the movie business, and she would travel to film sets with me around the world. And I thought, what's wrong with that? According to the actor, in recent years, he had stopped risking his life and had softened. In many ways, he was influenced by communication with his daughter. A sense of responsibility came. What I'm doing in this now pales in comparison to other things that I used to do. I definitely mellowed out. Age has done that. I'm 35 and I notice recovery time. That's what it really is. It's recovery time. Crashing motorcycles, laying stuff down. Normally, I would just have walked away from it. A few weeks later, feeling 100%. I had a motorcycle accident in July and I'm still feeling it. And no matter how paradoxical it may be, on November 30th, 2013, when he was only 40 years old, Paul died in a car accident. This happened in the California town of Valencia. The actor's friend Roger Rodas was driving, and together they participated in the charity event Reach Out Worldwide to raise funds for victims of the Philippine Typhoon Haiyan. There was no chance of rescue. They both died on the spot. The actor's death was a shock for his fans and colleagues around the world. Filming of Furious 7 was temporarily stopped to decide what to do with the film next. At that time, only half of the material was shot. The film was still released in 2015. This was the last picture in which Paul Walker managed to star. And only partially. The studio was forced to resort to the help of his brother and the use of computer graphics to finish the film. The film crew tried to give the actor as much as they could. In Walker's last appearance in The Fast and the Furious, at the end, he is shown driving off into the sunset with the edit of the movie moments with O'Conner demonstrated on the screen to the song by Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth, See You Again, in the background. For many fans of Paul, he was and remains an example that you should not be afraid to take risks and live your life to the fullest. Who says you can't have your cake and eat it too? Live this life, that life, this life, you know? You only live one time. In 2015, his daughter Meadow created the Paul Walker Foundation, whose mission is to do good deeds. Grants and scholarships are provided through the organization to students pursuing a degree in marine sciences or working in this field. In the same year, she sued Porsche, claiming that the car her father was driving had many technical defects that caused the accident, but the court did not agree with her version. We conducted our own investigation into the death of the talented actor based on police data and witness statements. You can find out all the details of that unfortunate evening here. Click on the icon that is on the screen and find out what mysteries the death of Paul Walker holds. And also, don't forget to like our video. It was Biographer. See you again. Have a good one.